Crypto has had a series of high and low moments this year. Yahoo Finance crypto reporter David Hollerith has been reminiscing a bit for us this morning. David.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Brian's a little redundant to say that crypto has had a good year. But, if we're thinking about the best performers of the year, the cryptocurrencies that stand out are those that sort of try and do something similar to Ethereum, which means they're sort of meant to be used for blockchains that use smart contract platforms. So that means it's where people can, create NFTs or get involved in decentralized finance, things like that. So the top gainers we're seeing in that area are tokens like AVAX, Sol, Matic. But the one that sort of stands out as the best performing is Luna, which is the token that powers the Terra protocol. So Luna has seen a gain of 17,000% this year, which is obviously enormous. And there's a lot of explanation for why that is. Partly it has to do with the fact that Ethereum has very high transaction costs. So there's a lot of extra demand for people to look for sort of like the next smart contract blockchain to use. But Terra also has a stable coin, which is also recently advanced in value. It's the highest valued algorithmic stable coin. So it's sort of been tested, especially in December, at the beginning of December, when we saw that crypto crash. Its stable coin was sort of tested in a way that it didn't unpeg from its value, which is obviously that's what breaks a stable coin. So we've seen all of that together, and there's just a lot of riding momentum on Terra's potential. So that is the biggest gainer as of a week, this week at least. So.
I mean, when you're talking about multiple thousands of percent, what's a few days here or there? I mean, but David, what's interesting to me about these huge outperformers, to compare them to Bitcoin, which has almost doubled this year, but of course has a lot of ups and downs. These guys that are up multiple thousands of percent have also had lots of ups and downs, but many fewer people have heard of them and are trading them, presumably, right? Compared with a more establishment coin like Bitcoin. So it's just interesting to me to see some of these obscure coins and wonder who's doing all the trading of them versus something like a Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I think even with Bitcoin, it's such a new asset that a lot of people are still wondering about that. I mean, I think the answer with Bitcoin is that it's not traded a lot typically. I mean, it's usually people usually buy it and they hold it. But these smaller coins, they're working in sort of like the DeFi ecosystem a lot of times. So people are doing these complex trades where they'll sort of take a token and then like stake it or hold it to get another one to make another trade. It's finance with Legos sort of. So there's like a lot of very complicated ways it's done. And I think a part of what's going on now is a lot of people are trying to sort of figure out how it's used, and especially in decentralized finance, that's sort of the bottom of all of this is people are trying to figure out, besides sort of finance for the sake of finance, like how these products will actually be used in terms of actually having a real physical sort of like gain or advantage for people.
Yeah, and it also sort of gets to to me at least, one of the conundrums of crypto, which is that it's supposed to be, on the one hand, sort of a solution to the lack of transparency or the alleged lack of transparency in traditional finance, but it's also not very transparent as we try to figure out who holds this stuff and all of that. But we talked about some of the best performers. What are some of the worst performers on the year in terms of cryptocurrencies, David?
Yeah, well, so there's about 6,000 crypto projects out there, and plenty of them have not performed well. So worst is sort of a pretty relative term in a way. But I think one that stands out to most people is Squid Game token, which was sort of this cryptocurrency scam that was based off of it was named after the popular Netflix series. And that was a $12 million scam, which by in turn is actually not the biggest scam in crypto that's happened this year. But that token fell a lot. Another scam, or not scams necessarily. A non-scam bad performer was a token for this DeFi project called Bogged Finance. So what happened there was the hackers actually leaked all of the funds and sort of got away with it. So, typically worst performers in this area are not your typical just like slow moving cryptocurrencies. That doesn't seem to exist. It's mostly things that turn out to be hacks or scams.
It truly remains the Wild West out there in crypto land. David Hollerith, thanks so much.